Today we will continue practicing writing algebraic expressions, going from English to math. In the last lesson, we looked at addition and subtraction. Today we'll look at multiplication and division. So let's get started. Below are some key words that can often be translated into multiplication or division. The product is the result of multiplication. Here are some other words that can also imply multiplication. Some of these words we saw in our last lesson on addition, like combine. Well, that's because multiplication is fast addition. Twice and thrice mean something very specific. Twice is 2 times, or double. Thrice is 3 times, or triple. And we have quadruple and other multiples, other ooples that are multiples of various numbers. Now let's look at division. The quotient is the result of division, but we can also see divided by, or anything that's going to be breaking a whole into parts, like in, per, out of, ratio of, splitting things into equal pieces, cutting things up, separating. We are taking a whole and putting it into parts. If you notice, the last 2 lines on each side are identical. So if we look at half of something, so we have half in both lists, well, that would be 1/2 x. So if we took 1/2 of x, we'd write it as 1/2 x. And this is multiplication. We're multiplying by 1/2. But we can also look at this as dividing by 2. So if we take x and divide it by 2, we have taken 1/2 of x. So multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. Same concept when we're talking about percent. If we have 10%, again, 10% is 10 per 100. So we can simplify that down to 1/10. So 10% is multiplying by 1/10. So 1/10 x if we found 10% of x, which is equal to x over 10. Again, we have both multiplication and division. Multiplying by 1/10 or dividing by 10. We can also multiply this by a decimal. 10% is the same as 0.10, and we multiply that to x. This is not a complete list. There are a lot of other words that can be used to indicate either multiplication or division. But with practice, you will learn to recognize them. Let's practice writing algebraic expressions using multiplication and division. We have the product of 6 and x. Product is multiplication, so that's 6 times x, or 6x. 2/3 of y, so we have 2/3 times y. We can also write this as 2y over 3. Thrice x. Thrice may be a new vocabulary word. Again, it means triple, or 3 times. So we have 3x. And finally, 85% of y. Well, we can have 85 over 100. Y. This can get simplified down. Both 85 and 100 have a factor of 5. So 17 times 5 is 85. So we have 17 here. And 20 times 5 is 100. So 1720y, which we can also write as 17y over 20. But we can also use decimals. 85% in decimal form is 0.85y. The quotient of 3 and y. Again, when we were looking at multiplication, order didn't matter. But order does matter with division. So when we find the quotient of 3 and y, the first number will be the numerator on top, and the second number will be the denominator. So that's 3 divided by y. 30% of y. Again, we could write this as a decimal. This would be multiplication. 30% is 0.30 y. Or we could write this as a fraction. So 30% is 30 over 100. 30 over 100 y. We can simplify that down. 10 goes into both of these numbers. 10 goes into 33 times. And 10 goes into 100 10 times. So 3/10 y. The ratio of x to 3. Again, similar to the quotient of 3 and y. The first term will be in the numerator, and the second term will be in the denominator. Finally, we have half of y. We can look at this problem as multiplying y by 1/2. So we have 1/2 y, which is equal to y over 2. There are x cookies in each box. How many cookies are there in 5 boxes? So if we have 5 boxes, and each of these boxes are going to have x cookies. So 5 boxes with x cookies. We can look at this as addition, and we can say x plus x plus x plus x plus x. That's exactly what we've done here, is we have 5 x's. We add that together and we get 5x. This is using addition. But multiplication is fast addition. So we have 5 of these. So we'll do 5 times x. A piece of lumber, x inches in length, is cut into 3 pieces of equal length. What is the length of each piece? So we have a piece of lumber, and it is x inches in length. And we're going to cut this into 3 equal pieces. And we want to know what is the length of these pieces. So each piece is going to have the same length. They were equal pieces. So to find what this is, we take the whole and we divide it by the number of parts. So in this case, the whole was x and the number of parts was 3. So each piece is x over 3 inches, or we can write this as 1/3 x inches. Now let's look at another age problem. So David is x years old. His brother Mark is twice as old as David, and his sister Sally is 2/3 David's age. Write an algebraic expression for Mark's age and another for Sally's, each in terms of x, each in terms of Dave's age. So Dave is x years old. Mark is twice as old as David. So Mark is 2 times David, and David is x. Twice means 2 times, or double. Sally is 2/3 David's age. So we have Sally, and she is 2/3 of David. Again, David is x. We can also write this as 2x over 3. A great way to learn is to practice on your own. we will discuss in a bit, but go ahead and pause your screen and do these 6 problems. So x divided by 15 is x divided by 15. 60% of y, we can write this as a decimal. So 60% is the same as 0.60 in decimal form. So 0.6y. 60% is 60 over 100, which simplifies down to 3/5. So you get 3/5 y. Z times 6. And then we'll just put it in the more conventional order where you have the coefficient in front of the variable. 1/5 of x. Again, we can write it in either form, either 1/5 x or dividing by 5, x divided by 5. Twice y. Twice may be a new vocabulary. It's 2 times. So 2y. And finally, the quotient of a and b. So that's a divided by b. Continue practicing writing algebraic expressions, and I'll see you in the next video.